All right. Hey, well, good morning, guys. How you guys doing? Good, sweet. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to Marcus right here. He was rocking it in the first row by himself. Pretty sweet. Feel like you're like in like box seating, or like you get like paid extra to be here. Thanks for being here. Hey, well, I'm excited as we jump into this time of teaching. If you and I haven't had the chance to meet, my name is Johnny, and I'm on staff here in Wildlife. And before we head into this time of teaching, I want to ask you guys one quick question, because I asked this question last night, and it was actually quite interesting what people answered with. Um, if you could choose any soda to drink for the rest of your life, which soda would it be and why? Someone last night, well, a couple people last night at 5:30, they combined two together. If you want to do that, you can. Someone combined Dr. Pepper and Sprite. Well, if you want to still say it, you can. It's just we spoiled it. I spoiled it. Let's go. Let's go in the back. Ryder, tell everyone your name. Awesome. Ryder, what soda would you choose? Root beer. Ooh, good answer. Now I have a follow-up question. What brand of root beer? Because that's important. That's important. There's Barks, there's A&W, there's Mugs. Which one would you choose? The, okay, the creamy kind. Which one is that? I don't know which one that is. A&W maybe. I think they yeah, yeah. Sweet, 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 sweet. I like Barks. I think that's good. Let's go, Marcus. Tell everyone your name. Marcus. All right, what soda would you choose? Fanta. Okay. Okay. What flavor of Fanta? Orange. Okay. All right. Would you mix it with anything or no? Maybe with Sprite? All right. Sprite's a safe bet. Anyone have like a crazy one? Like a wild one. All right. Tell everyone your name. You look like you should be in college right now. You look very classy. Tell everyone your name loud and proud. Luke. Everyone, let's give it up for Luke. Luke, what soda would you choose? Which one? Sprite cranberry. What are you, 70? What? Okay, why Sprite cranberry? Okay, I don't know what happened here. Cool. Hey, you guys can go and put your hands down. What was that? Okay, no, I got that, but you went like I don't know. I understand. You look very classy, but you should be. You look like you should be in a Hallmark movie right now. You want to? Hey, well, a couple things as we jump into this time of teaching. Uh, grab your note sheets. Those should be in front of you on the table. There's some fill in the blanks on the front and the back. It looks just like this. If you have one, text is already on it. If you have one, put it up in the air like you just don't care, so I know you have one. I highly encourage you to grab one. We're going to be using those as we head into this time of teaching. And as we go into this time, I want to make sure you guys have a pen with you ready. There's some fill in the blanks on the front and the back of that note sheet. The fill-ins are going to be on the screen. So as we go along throughout this time, that's a great way just to follow along. If you're like me, I'm easily forgetful. So let's go ahead and let's jump on in. Hey, well, we've been in this series for the last few weeks called Me, Myself, and iPhone. And in this series, what we've been looking at is we've been learning together on this journey how to better manage the screens in our life with God and the Bible in mind. And over the last few weeks, we on this journey together, week 2, we looked at how all of us should really be setting boundaries of what we should watch, the video games that we play, so that we can better be mindful of what we are consuming. Last week, as we continued this series, we looked at social media and we looked at all the different types of social media. We talked about MySpace, all these different types of social media. And last week, what we talked about is that we should all be mindful of what we are posting, and especially the words that we are saying to other people, and especially online. But as we wrap up the series this weekend, we're going to start with this question. And here's the question: where do we go from here? Where do we go from here as we've been learning how we should better manage the technology and the screens? And hear me, technology, iPhones, PlayStations, like those are awesome things. But we all need to be mindful. So whether you have a phone, a Nintendo Switch, a PlayStation 5, an Xbox, if you're one of those guys, or a Disney Plus account, whatever it is, technology is here to stay. So as we wrap up this series, the question we should be asking is like, well, what should we do about it? And where should we go from here? Let's go ahead and pray. Jesus, thank you so much for this time. We're excited because you are with us. And I always just want to remind myself, Jesus, that I never want to take that truth for granted, that wherever I go, wherever we go, you are always with us and you understand where we are coming from. So as we wrap up this series, would you just help us as we understand more about the screens and the technology, the phones, the iPads, the video games, everything in our lives? Would you help us as we navigate this crazy time together? And it's in your name we all said, amen. Hey, well, I want to ask a question. 8th graders, what year were you born? Shout it out. 2009? 2010? I want to take you back to the year 2010. I was about an 8th grader myself, which is weird. And in 2010, there was this commercial about what the future of phones might look like. Check this out.
Really?
Really?
It's time for a phone to save us from our phones. New Windows Phone, designed to get you in and out and back to life.
Oh, so nice. Well, it's weird to think about how that phone was supposed to come out November 8th, 2010. And like, if you guys didn't know, phones back in the day, they had like this giant bezel around it, and sometimes they would like flip open and there'd be like a keyboard. It's like wild stuff. But the reason I share that is that the reality is that I think that video kind of pokes fun at a truth that so many people, maybe for so many of us in this room, we are surrounded by our technology and we take it everywhere. In that video, you saw that this guy was using the restroom and he dropped it in the urinal and picked it up. That's disgusting. If I ever saw anyone do that, I'd be like, just burn the phone, get rid of it, right? Now, a few weeks ago, I was looking into and reading this article, and it was highlighting this fact that they're actually having a hard time finding people actually pick apples. So they've actually delegated picking apples to drones. So as you see in this video on the screen, this is a bunch of drones picking apples, and it's kind of cool. I don't know if those are QR codes or whatever, but it's kind of cool, but also kind of scary that those drones are now harvesting fruit, and eventually drones will harvest our minds. I'm joking, but it's kind of interesting if you think about it that technology is everywhere. So your first point on your note sheet, if you're taking notes, I hope you are. The first point on your note sheet is this on the screen: technology makes it easier than ever to ruin or deepen relationships and reputation. Technology makes it easier than ever to ruin or deepen relationships and reputation. Because the reality is, I've said this so many times, and I believe it's important to know that all of us are surrounded by technology and screens. And the reality is that they're here to stay. They're not going away anytime soon. So like in this series, we've been learning, how do we better navigate this life with God and the Bible in mind when it comes to our technology? Now, there's a passage we're going to go through in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. We're going to go through a couple of verses. Now, it's on your note sheet, and this is what I want you guys to do. So 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, the Apostle Paul wrote to this church in Corinth, highlighting to them what love is, specifically in this part of the letter to this church. Now, what I want us to do and understand is that Paul's going to describe what love is. So if you have a pen with you, if you don't, grab a pen, grab a pencil, whatever you have next to you. And I'm going to have you underline and put a circle around a couple of different words because it's so important, at least when I study the Bible and read the Bible, is that you can easily just read it. But for me, I'm not going to retain anything I'm learning if I'm not underlining and like paying attention to certain words. So let's read this together. Follow along with me on your note sheet, and I'll pause a little bit and have you underline certain things. All right. So it says this. Love is patient and kind. Now, do me a favor with a pen, put a big circle around the word love. Now, Paul, again, who wrote this, he is going to talk about what love is. So put a big circle around that word love. Ladies, in the middle, put a big circle around that word love. And as we continue reading, I want you to, every time you see a word that is describing love, I want you just to underline that word. You got that? So let's practice real quickly. So love, big circle, is patient and kind. Underline those two words, patient and kind. Paul continues, love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith. It's always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. Now, that was a lot what we just consumed there, what we just read. But I don't know about you, when you think of the word love, I'm sure the majority of us in this room think that love is a feeling, right? And that's not your fault. That's kind of what you've kind of seen in our culture, whether it's it's in a Disney movie or on a Netflix show or Disney Plus, whatever it is, we see that love is a feeling. But as we were reading this, I wasn't seeing that love is a feeling. It is something you can feel, don't get me wrong, but love is a choice. That this love that Paul is describing here is the love of God. That love is God. God is patient. He's kind. He's not jealous. He's not boastful, proud, or rude. And as followers of Jesus, Wildlife, we need to understand that when it comes to our technology, we can either use the technology to ruin relationships and reputations, or we can use it to deepen those relationships and reputations. So, as Paul was showing us what love is, we need to understand that we, as followers of Jesus, are always to love other people first. And I'll be the first to admit that's really hard. Sometimes there are people in my life I'm like, I would rather do anything but show you love, show you kindness. But as a follower of Jesus, that is what I'm supposed to do. So here's your second point. Write this down. We all get to choose. We live selfie or selfless. We all get a choice to make. Either we can live our lives selfie, which is a joke kind of showing that, we live for ourselves, or we can live for other people and be selfless. It's so important that all of us get a choice to make, that we're not pointing fingers or we're like, oh, they made me do this or he made me do that or whatever. It's like, no, you have a choice to make. You can live for yourself or you can live for other people. Now, in Philippians, this isn't on your note sheet. This is kind of like a late addition. So if you want to like write this down, Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. If you don't know how to write Philippians, just write chapter 2, 3 and 4. And Paul writes this when it comes to living a life that's not selfish. He says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. So it is so important as a follower of Jesus that we don't think first about ourselves, but we think about other people first. 7th and 8th graders, you might remember this, back in February this year, which is like a decade ago now, we did a series called Others Focused, where we looked at how we, as followers of Jesus, should always be others focused and not yourself focused. Like, have you ever heard of that phrase, me time? I need some me time. You guys heard of that before? Like, that is like the most selfish expression ever. Like, I don't want to be around people. I need some me time. That is just so selfish. And hey, I've been guilty of that. But 1 Corinthians 13, 2-3, the next passage on your note sheet, it says this. Follow along with me. And I'm going to have you underline a couple of things as well. So it says, Paul writes, if I had the gift of prophecy and if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains, but didn't love others, underline that phrase, but I didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor, which is awesome, we should be giving to the poor, to the people that can't help themselves. But he says, but if I gave to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. It's pretty cool. But if I didn't love others, there's that phrase again, underline that. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. Put a big box around that last phrase. I would have gained nothing. Wildlife, as followers of Jesus, we need to be living our lives focusing on other people, caring for them, showing them kindness, forgiving them without even thinking twice about it. As followers of Jesus, we have a choice. You can either live for yourself or you can live for other people. And that's easier said than done. It's hard to live for people, especially the people in our lives that we just do not like, that bully at school or that person that you just don't get along with. It's hard to be kind and love other people, even when we're like, I don't know if they deserve it. It's really hard to do that. But as followers of Jesus, that's what we are called to. If you show kindness to other people, but you don't love them in the process, what Paul is saying is like, then you might as well not even do that. You would basically gain nothing from that. So that's our second point. Here's your third point. Write this down. There is power in community to help navigate the online or offline worlds we live in. There's power in community to help us navigate the online or offline worlds that we live in. Whether it's the online world of maybe you are playing a video game or you are in the VR world. Anyone have a VR headset just by chance? Awesome stuff. I wish we could go around and be like, how many hours do you play your VR headset? If it's like more than 2 hours a day, I'd be a little like, whoa, check your eyes. But the reality is that so many of us have a choice to make, and we get to live in community, but we need to better learn how to navigate that, whether it's online or offline in the real world. It says this in 1 Thessalonians 4, on your note sheet, it says this. Dear brothers and sisters, honor, do me a favor, underline that word honor. The author here is talking about honoring someone. He says, honor those who are your leaders in the Lord's work. They work hard among you and give you spiritual guidance. Show them great respect. Underline that word respect. So important. Show them great respect and wholehearted love. There's that word again, love, because of their work. And live peacefully with each other. See, all of us, we get a choice to make, and we get to show love to other people. And that looks like respecting other people, loving people wholeheartedly with every ounce of who you are. You show love to them. Even when you're like, man, I'd rather do anything else right now. Like you have a younger brother or sister, and sometimes you'd rather just like punch him in the face or something like that. Like you're like, I don't care about them. Like I didn't even get to choose them as my brother or sister. Like whatever. I'm an only child, so I don't know what what it's like to share or anything. But as a older brother or sister, you guys get to show kindness and love to your younger brother or sister. And you could probably tell me, be like, Johnny, it's so hard. I'm sure it is. It's hard to show love to someone when you think they don't deserve it. It's hard to do that. But as followers of Jesus, Jesus showed us love. The Bible says that while we were still sinners, while we were still rebelling against God, Jesus still died for us because he loves us. So as followers of Jesus, we get to show love to other people, whether it's online or offline. We get a choice to make. Now, I want to ask you a question. Who has ever seen just a Spider-Man movie? Just raise your hand. Like, doesn't matter any of them, just a Spider-Man movie. Awesome. Um, it's Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters, as you guys know. I got the new Spider-Man video game recently. I already beat it. I'm not proud of that. But anyway, if you've seen, maybe I'm a little proud. Pretty Venom, pretty epic. If you've seen a Spider-Man movie before, well, show of hands. Who's seen like Spider-Man, like No Way Home? Raise your hand. Awesome, awesome. Um, that movie, I almost cried at a couple times because it's just so good. It's nostalgic for me. I grew up watching the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, which were like way before you were born. And those movies are incredible to me. But if you've ever seen any Spider-Man movie, for the majority of these movies, there's always like one line in most every Spider-Man movie. You guys know the line I'm talking about? With great, say it if you know it. With great power comes great responsibility, right? That is such a famous line. And there's some truth to that, right? Check this video out.
Even after she was hurt, she said to me that we did the right thing. She told me that with great power comes great responsibility. Wait, what? How do you know that? Uncle Ben said it the day he died. Maybe she didn't die for nothing, Peter.
Oh, so good, so good. Hey, now I should have said this. If you haven't seen that movie, big spoiler alert. But it's been out for 2 years. You should have seen it by now. I saw it 3 times in the movie theater, and I'm proud of that. Okay. But what I want to highlight with that is that line that with great power comes great responsibility. That all of us, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus, we have a great responsibility when it comes to the screens and the technology in our lives. So here's the last thought. One more thought on the back of your note sheet towards the middle. Write this down. Having a phone, iPad, TV, or console. I think we'll get that on the screen. Having a phone, iPad, TV, or console is a very big deal. It's a big responsibility. And with great power comes great responsibility. All of us have a responsibility as followers of Jesus. We get to shine Jesus in his light, who he is, his character. When people see you, if you are a follower of Jesus, the hope is that people would see Jesus through your actions and through your words. And that includes even when your sister is annoying you, even when your brother is annoying you, when your parents are annoying you, when that teacher at school, you would rather them not be there. Or you're like, please retire. You're old now. We all have a responsibility as followers of Jesus to reflect who Jesus is to other people. That is a great responsibility. And we get an opportunity through our phones, our iPads, the technology to use those with wisdom and discernment. Because someday, in the not so distant future, someday your parents, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents, whoever you live with, they're not going to be the one that controls your screen time. They're not going to be the ones that are going to tell you to get off of that video game. They're not going to be there to tell you when to get off of that technology. That's going to be up to you. And you have a choice to make through your character, through your faith, through your choices. So, with all of us, with our iPhones, our iPads, the TVs, the screens in our lives, we have a great responsibility because all of us are to reflect, not all of us, the ones that call ourselves a Christian or a Christ follower, we have a responsibility to share Jesus with other people. Now, if you've ever read the first book in the Bible called Genesis, has anyone read Genesis or you're like, I've heard of it? Great, cool. In Genesis, which just means the beginning, that's what that word means, it's just beginning. Um, in the very first few chapters, there is an incredible story. We are shown that there is this amazing and powerful God, and He created this awesome creation. And He created these two people, Adam and Eve, to rule over the creation and to just be together. And He said, hey, you can do whatever you want in this garden, but you can't eat from this one tree in the garden. God said, you can do whatever you want, but there's this one tree in the dead center of the garden. And God is like, you cannot eat the fruit from this tree because if you do, you will die. But you can do whatever you want. That sounds like pretty sweet, right? But as people, I think if any of us were there, we probably right now are like, if I was there, I wouldn't have done it. I would have figured it out. No, if any of us were there, we would have done it. Adam and Eve were tempted by Satan to eat from this tree, which is immediately disobeying God. And what we see here is that Adam and Eve were led into this temptation, and in doing so, rebelled against God because Satan was like, hey, God's lying to you. God is not good. He's actually holding out from you. He's actually like, if you eat this fruit, actually your eyes will be opened and you'll be more powerful than God, and God's just holding out on you. They were lied to by Satan, and in doing so, they stumbled into this incredible temptation. And I think for so many of us, when it comes to the screens in our lives, the technology, that you will probably face some type of temptation. You will probably face, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not middle school, but maybe in high school, one day we will all face some sort of temptation. And all of us have a choice to make. So the action step is I want all of us, myself included, all the leaders, I want us to memorize this one verse this week, and we'll talk about it at Life Group on Wednesday. And here's the verse. It's on your note sheet. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Now think about that. David, I think David wrote this. He wrote most of the Psalms. I could be wrong. What the author is saying here is basically what the words that we say in our hearts that lead us and guide us. Would it be meditating on who God is so that we could reflect Jesus in every area of our life? Another way to think about it is the verse I wrote right below it. Don't memorize this one, all right? Memorize the actual verse. But it says this: May the words of my texts, comments, and Discord and the meditation of my iPad, it's funny, and streaming be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Now, what that is saying, and the reason I'm sharing it that way, is that every aspect of our lives should be reflecting who God is. And what's awesome, and what this verse is basically talking about, is you are bringing everything to God, and you're like, God, would every aspect, my social media, my screen time, the video games that I play, would every aspect be pleasing to you? Would it be honoring to you? So as the band comes up, I want all of us to just take a moment and reflect on this verse. I'll read it one more time. And as you see, I underlined already a couple of words because it's highlighting some important things when it comes to this verse. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. It's so important that as followers of Jesus, that we are just giving everything to Jesus, every aspect of our lives And that includes your social media, the video games that you play, the things that you comment on YouTube on, your Discord, like everything when it comes to screens and technology, and even above that, everything. Would our lives be a reflection of who Jesus is? Because remember, all of us have a great responsibility. We all have a responsibility. You at school have a responsibility to share Jesus through your actions and through your words with how he is, who he is, so that when people see you at school, in math class, in science class, whatever it is, in homeroom, when people see you, the hope is that they would ultimately see Jesus and stop and think, hey, you're different. There's something different about you. And what a great opportunity for us as followers of Jesus then to share Jesus with other people. So, as we go into this last song of worship, I want to remind us that this verse, Psalms, we're going to read it, try to memorize it. Don't worry, you don't have to memorize it by Wednesday, but the goal is to try to memorize it this week. And not just to memorize it, just to memorize it. We want to memorize it so that we are thinking and pondering on what this verse is talking about. So I'm going to invite you guys to do one thing. Just stand up where you're at, and I'm going to read this verse one last time. Then we're going to go into this last song of worship. So stand on up where you're at, and do me a favor, close your eyes and just like bow your heads. And if this is like not your thing, just out of respect for me and everyone else around you, just like go along with it, all right? So go ahead and close your eyes, bow your heads, and I want you guys just to listen to this verse as I read it over you guys. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Let's go ahead and pray. Jesus, thank you so much that you are our Lord, our rock, our redeemer, that whatever happens in life, you will always be there. And Jesus, would you help us this week and for the rest of time, would you help us reflect who you are, that when people see us, man, they would ultimately see you. Jesus, as we go into this last song of worship, would it be honoring to you, that would our hearts be aligned with who you are? It's in your name we all said, amen. Hey, I'm going to invite you guys, if you want to come closer, come fill in the area up here. Let's go into this last song.